Hello, Texas. All things sports, all things Texas, right here at the Lonestar Sports Network. You're getting the Lonestar Sports Show right here in the heart of North Texas, Oak Cliff, Texas. Giving it to you like it is. Today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. You got myself, Alan Branch, here, riding solo, breaking it out. We're going to bring some interesting guests over to visit with your lady life, keeping it where it needs to be. And my main man, the Prince, Ani Umane, doing what it does, a man of many hats. Made more progress in basketball in the last 20 months than most people make in 20 years due to his pursuit of consistency and technology and just good old-fashioned elbow grease. But we're doing it right here at the Lone Star Sports Show, right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. It's Thursday. Still feels like hump day on Wednesday. Plenty going on. Dallas Cowboys. Great visit. I enjoyed watching the piece that Jason Witten did with Stephen A. Smith today on the Stephen A. Smith show. Thought that was an interesting angle. I give him props for clean, clear perspective on things that from the locker room to on the field, and gave his point that pretty much lined up with everything that we talked about on Tuesday, is that the Dallas Cowboys are pretty much walking around in circles, and they'll only panic when they walk into a situation here and they look at, going and they're 2-6, 2-5. That's when the panic will start, and that's when Jason Garrett will probably be, if he's not on the hot seat now, the seat will be extremely hot to the fact that he will potentially be fired if they can't find a way to get some better situations on third down. Missing a couple of the offensive line, interior offensive line there. They're not bad, but they're not as good as they could be. The defense has held them in a great place so far. So we always got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. But it's Basketball Thursday. And right now we want to figure out, what is it that our own son from Tomball, Texas, Jimmy Butler, really wants? That's the whole deal. I'll tell you what he wants, and I feel like I know him well enough to tell you what he wants. Jimmy Butler wants to win. He's made plenty of money in the process, somewhere in the ballpark of signing contracts, probably in excess of $100 million right now. So at this point in time, Jimmy feels, and this is a projection by Alan Branch, that there's nothing else left for me to do in my legacy is to win championships. And being involved in situations where winning is not the top priority frustrates him. He's always been the kind of guy that held his teammates accountable, and now you're sitting in a situation with two high-paid young guys in Townsend and Wiggins, and he just doesn't feel like they're committed to winning. From an inside source, he's frustrated with these guys coming after losses and looking at their individual stats and seeing where they are, and that the losing part doesn't bother him at all. He doesn't think it's a full-blown commitment to the process. He don't think they're playing hard. And so he asked for a trade roughly about 3 to 4 weeks ago. And in the process of pursuit of that trade, he bounced it around and even thought of it at one time it may be our own Houston Rockets right here in the state of Texas that would have been. So that would have been a grand idea. Couldn't be worked out, wasn't figured out, and shopped around. Everybody thought it was a done deal with the Miami Heat. And they weren't able to figure out, even in the fire sale type mode, when you get to this doing the trade this time of the season, you're never going to get the real full value for a prospect. And even with that, they weren't able to negotiate it. So after finding out he didn't have anywhere else to go, he went back to practice and he was irate. He let them know how he felt, And this is the way I saw it. Say, I'm stuck with y'all, so y'all stuck with me.
Right.
It was kind of a two-edged kind of a deal. And he rolls back in a rant and rave, shows up to practice, dives in practice. They go through all the things they go through, and they start getting up and down. And he, rumor has it that he takes the third team and puts a full-blown thrashing on the first team and tells them, this is what I'm talking about. And Jimmy was trying to make a point. And he said in a couple of interviews he's had, I enjoyed watching those interviews, he said, man, I'm just going to be truthful. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be clear about the way I feel, with the way I went about it, possibly inappropriate, but at this stage of the process, I really don't care. Losing constitute what do you think he said? Losing constitutes inappropriate behavior when the effort is not there. I think I'm just going to sit here and not win. Yeah, it's not about money for me right now. What I'm talking about is bigger than money. And it shouldn't be about money for any of us because the guys here that could make a difference, and this is what he's saying here, the guys here that could make a difference, we all have plenty of money.
Right.
The money's guaranteed. You know, you're talking about almost $300 million between 2 or 3 guys. So,
they just signed extensions.
Right. They're just signing extensions and everything is perfect. And it always comes back to what I always say, honey. I mean, you know, do you love the game or do you love the lifestyle? You know, and there's nothing wrong with the lifestyle that comes along with it. But when you find guys that aren't driven, they're going to do just enough to get the money. And this is what guys are trying to figure out during pre-draft periods and trying to read guys' backgrounds and how much of winning is really, you know, a main drive or a main part of their culture.
And Coach, you make a point when you said, do you love it or do you love the lifestyle? I think with guys like Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, when guys have that much success early on as players and, you know, all rookie, all-star, generally they don't usually take that next leap.
Well,
it's kind of like they come out, they're strong, and then
I think you're barking up the right tree to a certain extent, honey, but what the deal comes is what you're seeing is, and it's kind of like my pastor Kirby John Caldwell said many years ago, we living in a society, and at that time it was the iPod, then it became the iPhone, and then it became the iPad, and that Apple is making billions of dollars off of suggests a certain level of individualism. In other words, things revolve and are about me. And, you know, when you start looking for that in a team process or team chemistry, that's hard to manage that kind of a personality. That's what coaches get paid for, is to merge all of the I's. And so the frustration comes in. And, you know, I think even when you look at some things we're going to be talking about with the Commission on College Basketball and the scandal and with the FBI and what's all going on in New York with the trials and everything, and we're going to have some interesting points. We got a guest coming on that has looked at some of that, and we're going to talk about it. But when you look at those things, you've got a generation of kids that are very talented, that have been groomed for a I-oriented agenda. It's always about where I can go get mine, and the idea and concept of if the team gets theirs, then everybody else gets theirs.
Right.
That's where the loss is in it. So when you hear me say that, you know, you see it. You know, Jimmy's not that old. He's a high school class of 2007. You know, which in these days may sound ancient in some weird warped way. You know, roughly about 7 years, I guess, probably in the league right now, because he was at Marquette for 4 years, 2011, 7 years in the league.
Yeah,
right.
I think he just turned 30.
Yeah, no, I know exactly how old he is. He's probably 29 years old. He may not even turn 30 yet. Right. But so, I mean, when you look at those situations, you know, Jimmy's perspective on things is that, you know, there's nothing else I can gain from the game other than did I win a championship or did I not win a championship? And that's what it comes down to.
But I think that's how he's always been.
Yeah, I think he's been driven that way. I mean, you know, he was always in pursuit of it. You know, and I can't, you know, because I've known him for so long. I've known Jimmy since 2005, I believe. And, you know, he didn't have a championship environment being in Tomball, Texas. So I think his initial deal was to get to a championship level. I think his experience at Tyler Junior College taught him team and can we win a championship. And then I think moving on to Marquette with 2 Sweet 16s and 1 Elite 8 taught a championship team chemistry. You know, he's a kid that got a chance to reap the benefits of a Dr. Joe Carr coming in and teaching the team chemistry deal. So he understands what it takes to win. And what he does understand is, because he has gotten to the point of his career that he's gotten to, is that if I win, I'm going to make plenty of money. It's already proven that. And when Chicago lost it, he thought he would go over with these guys. And he's frustrated. He's frustrated because where everything is structured is that, okay, I'm stuck with y'all. Y'all are stuck with me. I'm finna force y'all into winning. That was what that shock value was all about, according to Alan Branch's opinion. Got us right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by fastmodelsports.com, located right there in Chicago, Illinois, leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. This particular segment is brought to you by Harlem Hotels. Harlem Hotels. Go take a look at harlemhotels.com and see how you can put your money where you sleep and see how it is when you wake up. Back in 180 seconds, we come back, we'll have Jimmy Hicks with RCS Sports right out of Houston, Texas. We're going to chop it up for a few segments. Jimmy and Branch doing what it does. A cheat sheet. Right back.
Harlem Hotels. Make money where you and millions of others spend money. Harlem Hotels Investment and Development Group's primary disciplines include hotel acquisitions, hotel development, hotel project management, as well as asset and partnership management. At Harlem Hotels, we invest in upscale focused service and extended stay hotel properties, mainly in Texas and other major urban markets. We are hotel owners, developers, investors, and asset managers persistent in our pursuit of successful ventures and passionate about our products. We provide nationally branded investment opportunities, including Hilton, Marriott, and Hyatt hotel franchises. Harlem Hotels strategically places the right product in the right location for the right customer. Get started with us today. Visit us online at www.harlemhotels.com. Harlem Hotels, put your money where you sleep.
Hey, here we are rolling back in here to the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. We've got Jimmy Hicks with RCS Sports on hold. Probably be chiming in probably roughly another 2 to 3 minutes. But right now we're looking at Basketball Thursday right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Like I say, today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. This particular segment is brought to you by Fast Models product, Fast Recruit. Go take a look at FastModelSports.com and see where they are leading basketball into the 21st century. Click on what's going on with all the different products. They even have a new product coming out that goes to the administration of NCAA-oriented institutions that are being running college sports the way they run it. A lot going on in college sports. We're going to be breaking some of that down a little bit later on in the show, but right now we're chiming in and we're looking at something is the TABC preseason rankings, and tonight we're gonna, obviously, when you look at it, Sealsby in the 4A division, being what they be and what they bring back, the returner team. I mean, that's an obvious number one. I don't even have to get up out of my easy chair to figure that one out. Carter lost what they lost, and they still look good. You got Lincoln sitting there with a couple of prospects that popped up. You got Wilma Hutchins right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area popping up where it needs to be. Yates is returning a nice group of guys over in the situation. So a lot of things make some sense there. I'll tell you an interesting piece right there is number 15, Faith Family, with all the young talent that they have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, moving up into the situation.
Jordan Walsh, Trey Clayton.
Right, yeah. No, these are some top 15. They probably got 3 to 4 top 15 guys in the state of Texas. Would you say along that?
Yeah, along those lines.
Yeah. So that puts them in a situation right there. So everything makes a lot of sense in the 4A division. 4A division is going to be a little top heavy. If Coach Thomas can get that Faith Family group grown up faster than usual, then it may pop up something. But you have to look at a Sealsby. You have to look at, I like Sealsby and Wilma Hutchins based on the personnel. But, one of the things that we're going to be talking about when Jimmy Hicks joins us here in a little bit is just the mere fact that when you look at the situation of a preseason ranking, we do preseason ranking in all sports.
Right.
There's preseason ranking in college basketball, preseason ranking in high school football, high school basketball. Everybody does a preseason. And most preseason rankings are done by the coaches, because who would have a better feel for than your peers who have competed in the same arena with you? Who would have a better feel for what you're returning and knowing what others are returning and being able to create a certain amount of votes? And to the best of our knowledge, that TABC, being the Texas Association of Basketball Coaches, doesn't really allow a pool of coaches that are on a panel to do this, which would seem like it would be a more viable way to go about it. But I've heard multiple rumors, and we really don't know the truth, to be fair to the TABC, how they go about doing it. But the problem comes out is that they either figure out the obvious or they forget about the obvious.
Right.
There's a big elephant in the room of what's going on with all this situation. I mean, Northwest played for a state championship last year. We don't have a big problem with that. I think Lancaster comes back. I think Lancaster been there so many times. Shadow Creek, it looked like they probably did their homework. Little Lamb, maybe they didn't do their homework as good as they probably should have, but they're still number 4. And it's I'm not going to knock somebody in a preseason ranking for being 3 or 4 or 5 channels off from where I think they should be, in a process. But when you jump up and you're in a situation where you're way beyond 3 or 4 or 5, or somebody's just totally missing, and I'm trying to hold the drama until Jimmy makes it onto the phone. But just because it comes out of Region 3 of a 6A team that's missing from this situation. But here's another one, how much are you on top of your rankings when you print this out, when Sulphur Springs, or pretty much their whole team left?
The majority of their, you could say star power is not even. Yeah,
they lost 3 of the 4 of their star power. They still bring back the big kid. I call him Bowlegs. Xavier Cork.
And they still have the Cameron Coon.
Cameron, the guard that I liked a lot, who didn't have a great non-scholastic season, we'll call it. I don't recall seeing him pop up, but I still think he's a very solid high school component. It's kind of the steering wheel of what they do over there. But when you turn around and you extract out a guy that was probably the hottest guy in Las Vegas, no matter what event you were looking at, with Victor Oahu, who's that's verbally committed to OU, and then you take out his countryman, Gigi. No, it's not Gigi.
God's Gift.
Gigi. God's Gift, right. Yeah. Okay, there you go. There's the Gigi. Got God's Gift right there, and then you turn around and you take the kid that I like a lot, if he ever grows up, has a chance to be a good player.
Wake Up Midway.
Bubba's son, though.
Yeah. Michael Jefferson.
Michael Jefferson, there you go. You throw those pieces in there, they obviously don't realize what all has been extracted out of there. I thought Stephen may have gotten a little. It's just a lot of situations here.
Fort Bend Hightower was ranked a little low.
Yeah, Fort Bend Hightower is definitely, I feel like, is ranked a little low. The Wagner group, has had a lot extracted out of it. There's just some really, really interesting things. I think a lot of other things kind of fall kind of pretty much where they could be or should be. And Rudder being number 10. I don't know if that guard that's going to be going to Weber State, has enough around him to warrant that. But in a 5A class in the high school season, it all makes sense. Did Denton Geyer lose enough and or not lose enough or maintain enough to remain in the situation they are as projected number 1 in the 6A division? Very, very, very interesting look. Yes or no, I don't know. But Jimmy, have you made it on? No, I don't think he's made it on. He's still bumping around there. But so you turn around and you look at that situation and with Denton Geyer, and you say, hey, what do you got there? And in that situation with them losing the guys that they lost,
right? Grayson and
Grayson Carter,
and then the kid played Calvashon Darthar.
Calvashon Darthar, who's pretty much the steering wheel of the steady, the true guard. Now you do come back with Oklahoma commit, long time commit, Davion Harmon,
Jalen Wilson. So you bring back your top 2 scorers,
right? Yeah, and then you bring back one other player there,
Jacoby Coles,
right? Yeah. So maybe it makes some sense, but
you're gonna be I don't know if they're gonna be as deep as they were.
Well, they're definitely not as deep as they were, but sometimes less is more. So right. They may get it right with this group because there was a big challenge for Coach to manage the amount of egos and the number of players that he had, because he was sitting there with a roster with maybe 5 to 6 Division I prospects between 2 classes in it. Yep. So it was more than a notion of how people. I think it takes a certain amount of experience and respect to of your players. To a young coach, it's hard on a young coach managing that kind of deal, be able to put his foot down and manage all that. This could be the year that he turns around and does it. Now, here's a deal right here with South Garland. Is South Garland more fit for that? And I'll tell you why they potentially are more fit for that. High school basketball, college basketball, summer basketball, so go your guards, and so goes the situation with what you have in the whole deal. So I know exactly what's going on. I appreciate having my coattail pulled on that, and that's exactly what it is. Jimmy Hicks, you probably been sitting there for about 3 or 4 minutes, scratching your head. My producer pointed at me. What in the hell is she pointing at? And I got the charger plugged into the main line. I didn't have you switched over, so you probably been listening to me talking about you joining up and all that. So you got a good listen and no talk. You're saying, what in the hell's going on probably in the whole deal on that situation. Because according to the clock, you probably been ready for about 4 or 5 minutes. But
yeah.
Man, glad to have you on the show. I'm glad you recognized that. We had to give her a bonus for recognizing we didn't have a great Jimmy Hicks wasn't plugged in. But 2 minutes before we go to the break, Jimmy, based on looking at the situation, to your knowledge, what is the process that TABC goes by? Or is that a kind of an unknown factor? It just appears on the website, and then here it is. Take it or leave it.
Well, yeah, it's not they don't have a published criteria for selecting the teams, but based on the high school coaches that I've spoken with throughout the years, it's basically one of those networks. That the TABC, I know specifically in Houston, you have Rick Shirley and you have Johnny Hawk Carter, and ironically, both of those guys coached at Hastings High School in the A-Leaf ISD. Rick Shirley preceded Johnny Hawk Carter. So they're from the same tree of high school coaching. Well, that's where their careers both ended, at Hastings High School. And then they're good friends. Matter of fact, I went in about a year ago, last season, they honored Rick Shirley at Hastings before one of their games. And so, but it's like it's a small world in basketball.
Very small world.
A lot of people don't realize. So what they do is they go and they lean exactly who It is, but the thing is, at some point or another, if you're in, then it's about just getting him, making sure that you get out and network, because, TABC also, not only do they have members that are high school coaches, but any college coach in the state.
So a lot of those guys that go back every year to San Antonio to a deal, a lot of those guys are paid members, have membership dues, paying members, right?
No, let me add something to that now. Let me put a little seed in that gumbo. Now, not a lot of them, all of them.
Okay.
You think they're going to let you come speak at their annual banquet and their annual convention and you ain't no member?
Yeah.
No.
If you're not a member, you need to get your dues paid up so you can come and speak.
Yes, because if you think about it, look at what they're putting you in front of. If you're a college coach, you get to speak, you get to have your personality presented. You're basically doing an unofficial home visit in the form of at a convention center in front of all those high school coaches.
That's exactly.
And that's priceless.
Yeah, that's priceless. You can't get that kind of stuff anywhere. Before we go to break, we're going to advise all you guys. You can go take a look at it and see kind of what we're talking about. The Texas Association of Texas Association of Basketball Coaches, which actually includes women, boys, and girls side of things. But you got Jimmy Hicks, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and Honey and Money behind the controls. We come back, we're going to lock back in, and we're going to let you know what the elephant is in the room, what the real missing piece is that even constitutes us getting on the radio and talking about this and breaking it down like it is. But we'll be back in 180 seconds with more of the Lone Star Sports Show. This particular segment was brought to you by Fast Models, Fast Recruit. Go and take a look and see how Fast Model Sports is leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Back in 180 seconds. Like I always say, boy, sometimes the commercial breaks are the best part of the show. We're right here on the Lone Star Sports Show. We're breaking it down, looking at it. All things sports, all things Texas right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Like I said, we got Jimmy Hicks from the south end of this big old process called Texas, giving it to us like it is and breaking it down. But we're finna get right down to the nitty-gritty. Today's show is brought to you by Fast Mall Sports. But right now, we finna bring the elephant to the room. Let's move right on over to the 6A deal. Coach, I looked and I scrolled and I went back up and down and I looked back over and, you know, and I started to wonder if we were in a situation where we're in a situation where maybe there was a typo or what's going on. Then I kind of started seeing some tweets fall out. I said, well, it's not a typo, like to be fixing it. But we right there in Intercontinental Airport backyard, Atascocita High School. What I think is probably Martinez, maybe potentially one of the most respected high school coaches in the state of Texas. I think he's definitely a top 10%er, in my opinion. They're totally left off. And then you have a situation where we've got at number 10, Sam Houston. So you got to let me in. When they lost a 6'7", 4-man, 4-3 guy that shoots the three, big, strong-bodied kid, when they lose him from there going back to his home school, Atascocita, what did the other kid went to TCU, what did they retain that justified them being ranked 10th in the 6A class?
You asking me that?
Yeah, I'm asking you that. That's right. That's Region 3, ain't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, well, first you got Chris Green coming back.
Okay.
Chris Green.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
And you're talking about Chris Green is about 6'3".
Yeah.
And he's a utility guard that is very, very, very
instrumental in a high school team being successful. I think on TexasBoysBasketball.com, he's definitely a top 80 player. I think he falls somewhere around 60, 67. And actually, my assistant telling me more like in the 50s. So that means he's a college prospect, right, in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
You know. So that's a quality deal. So there's some more to support his process there also. I know the coach pretty well there too.
And another Marlon, you got Marlon Jackson. Marlon's the left.
Yep. Marlon Jackson guard. Okay.
And Marlon is pretty. You gotta realize Marlon
makes sense.
On the cusp. Yeah, he's on the cusp of a Division I offer, because the thing was, some people he had a few bites from the Southland Conference.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that Sam Houston State is one of the schools that were really biting in on Marlon, and it's just one of those things where he's about 6'4", and he's more of a 4'3", but he's really, really effective. Gets his hands on a lot of balls outside of his range, and his motor is nonstop. Mm-hmm. So that's another player. Let me tell you, another guy that you got that list of guys that's not Division I, but
they'll play somewhere after school, high school.
But it ain't no doubt in the world that once people see him, because he has a linebacker body. You follow me? He is about 6'4", and he's built like a linebacker. You see? This kid's name is Kevin Baker. Remember that. I'm telling you right now, Kevin Baker at Sam Houston High School. He's the X factor.
Undersized 4-man?
Well, not really undersized for the level that he's going to go at. Undersized, he was Division I. So they got 6'4" 4-mans in D2 ball all day long. Yep,
right. Yeah, I mean, and he could end up in Region 14 or Region 5, where he would translate into more of a small forward 3-4 mismatch 4-man. Could be a lot like the kid that played down Interstate 45 South that went away somewhere and came back to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. You know exactly who I'm talking about, Beverly.
Yeah, Jeff Beverly.
Jeff Beverly, right. Is he? Would you compare him to a Jeff Beverly?
Well, Jeff Beverly was about 6'6",
Maybe. I don't know if I go. Yeah.
But right on the same cover. Jeff Beverly was a legit Division I player. There wasn't a doubt about that. Remember, but we're talking. Jeff Beverly left Corpus Christi and went over to Iowa State and played at Iowa State for a year or so. So
as a fifth-year player, right? Which a lot could happen in that time.
Absolutely. So in this situation with him, Sam Houston High School is what I'm saying. Then you have Torrin T.J. Mingo running the point.
Okay.
And then you bring back Earl Beal, who's about 6'6".
Okay.
Right? Comes back.
And
Sam Houston is seasoned.
And you got a solid basketball coach right over there. Yeah.
Oh man, understand one thing about Sam Houston. That Sam Houston I'm
Ralph is his name. Right.
But in the past 3 years, they're like 116 and they're like 140 and 16 in the past 3 years. I mean, they have a winning tradition over there.
Well, I mean, you go all the way back to 2010 or 11. They were bringing in quality players at that point in time. I can remember that 2011, 2012 class had a kid that came in from New Mexico, didn't pan out to be what was really, really considered a high major talent at one point in time. So since Ralph, and what's Ralph's last name? Is it Barrera?
Yeah, Ralph Barrera.
Barrera, right? Yeah. Since Coach has been there, he's done a good job with him.
And I'm gonna give you the correct record: 128-18 over the past 3 seasons for Sam Houston. I'm sorry, the past 4 seasons.
4 seasons. I can really say.
The past 4 years, they are 128-18 at Sam Houston High School. So, and this team, you're talking about, understand something. I got to see him this past weekend at the Super 16. Chris Green had cut his hand while dunking, attempting a dunk in one of the rims at the local park. Mm-hmm. He cut his hand. Branch, in the park dunking last week.
Before the Super 16.
Yes, they gave him stitches. Guess what hand it was? His right hand. Guess what hand Chris Green is? He's right-handed. And you know what Chris Green did? He played every damn game at the Super 16 and led his team all the way to the semifinal.
Because you're talking about an area that's a throwback. I mean, when you drive into the area of Sam Houston, which I've been there many a times, that's why I know how many players they've had as Division I prospect. Had a big kid that went to Texas State that was like a 6'7", 6'8" kid, maybe in 2012 or 13. They've had plenty of Division I players out of there, but when you pull up into the parking lot, and it's not because it's an unsafe neighborhood. There's just a sense of blue collar toughness. You would almost think you were in the heart of Chicago or Detroit when you look at the school and you just look at the makeup, the environment that it's in right there, and then you go in. Ralph Barrera, who I actually know fairly well from a basketball perspective, is an extremely hard-nosed, tough coach. So you're going to get toughness out of a situation like that. I mean, I don't think you get anything any different. So now you've justified the number 10 just by your local Houston knowledge, and you've also done some recruits a whole lot of good because of the number of college coaches that listen to this show, whether they listen to it live or where they go back. And you would see our listeners go up like 3 times, 4 times what's going to happen live. So this is a living deal. So you just helped out the guys right there in the Houston area at Sam Houston. They owe you one, Coach. They need to y'all need to take Jimmy Hicks to lunch or to breakfast or tell him thank you, Mr. Hicks, or something, because he just helped another basketball scout put your name out there and also put your name in a place where you're going to be heard about and talked about all the time. Now, explain to me, am I missing something with Atascocita?
You know, the late, great Reverend James Cleveland, one of his famous sermons was who in the hell left the gate open?
Yeah, I do recall that. A lot of young people don't know, but that's true.
I'm trying to figure who in the hell left Atascocita out of the top 25 in the state of Texas. Here's the thing. Understand something. I mentioned earlier. TABC, the 2 administrators live in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Every single year, that's what we have is called the Super 16 Fall High School Championships, and that's only limited to the greater Houston area. You know, this event is held every year the first weekend in October. It gives everybody an opportunity to kind of measure the high school teams going into the upcoming season. Well, TABC lives in Houston, and one of the administrators, I mean, and I'm good with both people. That's the whole thing. Sometimes, understand something. You might think you're good with somebody, but the actions let you know something ain't right, because every time you see them, y'all speak, you see like Johnny Hawk Carter. He's a good guy. He used to be the head coach at Hastings back when B.J. Holmes and Larry Davis was there. And I see him, I give the soul shake to him, and we're good to go. But then when it comes time to an event that can help, not only help you do your job easier, it can also help you increase your membership, because there are so many high school coaches in the building. You don't have every doggone high school coach sign up at TABC, so you can get some of those guys signed up as well as some of those non-Division I coaches who are in the building that never may have met you before. You can come there for that, if nothing else.
But let's back up though. how can you have a Super 16, which has been going on roughly about, I say about 14 years now? Every bit.
It's the 15th year was just for this
How
past
about that?
weekend.
There you go. Yeah, and how can you have that, and there was no TABC representative or anybody that goes about the process, and then you're going to have the Elite 14 over here with all these schools. All this stuff is going on. I mean, how can you expect anything, even though you still should be able to figure out the Atascocita, but the level of accuracy can't be much beyond just casual entertainment out of what you're going to be looking at there in the reality of what's really going on. Yes or no?
Well, the thing is, only they can answer that, because I do know, I do understand that there are often times that somebody may have an emergency in the family and things happen. You have to be somewhere, whatever the case may be. But in this situation, this was the first year that the Super 16 extravaganza had every single game streamed live. So you didn't even have to, if you didn't show up, you could have still been gauging in the results, either watching the games online or just following the app or the schedule just to see who did what. Because that would have validated Atascocita. We're talking about Atascocita High School, and how did they get snubbed from the top 25 teams in the state of Texas in Class 6A? Yeah. So here's how you look at that. And I'm from Houston. This is how I look at it, because I do rankings, and you can feel that same equation with a kid and saying if you have A plus B, then Y isn't that equal to C, and you can factor in the equation. Well, this is how I look at it. If you have a total of, let's say, 7 teams that played in the Super 16 extravaganza in the Class 6A, 7 of the Greater Houston teams who played are listed within your top 20. Not the top 25. 7 of the top 20. That's 35%, right? Okay, check this out. So, and of that 7, Atascocita advanced further than 6 of those 7, and they all were in the same tournament over the weekend. Now, mind you, the high school coaches were not permitted to be coach on the sideline per UIL or TAPS rule.
But that was an even playing field. It wasn't like some coaches could coach and some coaches couldn't coach. Nobody had coaches on the sideline.
Exactly. So how about this? Let's go and say, and me, it's no shame. Let's go look at number 20 in the state is Springwoods. So Springwoods, they're ranked preseason number 20, right? And according to the TABC ranking. Well, Springwoods played in this event without their coach. Atascocita played in this event without their coach, right? Right? So this team, Springwoods, they went 0-3. You follow me?
Yeah. And that's a tournament format. That's not a showcase format. There's a champion, right?
They went 0-3. It's a champion in this. I mean, here's where I'm going. So they're number 20 in the country, in the state. They went 0-3 in this tournament. I'm not saying don't put Springwood or not good enough to be in the top 20. You know what? I'm saying if this team went 0-3, then you must include Atascocita, who made it to the championship.
Yeah. I rest my case. You got it right there from Jimmy Hicks live and the whole deal. There's no way that it makes sense. Obviously, the time constraints have chomped on us. We gave a couple extra minutes, probably got in trouble over here in the big house. But you're getting it right here from Jimmy Hicks, RCS Sports. You can keep on, co-host of the Chop Shop. More of the deal. You may hear us talking about this even farther along. It's going to come back to hunt you now when it all comes back. But we had Jimmy Hicks live from RCS Sports, co-host of the Chop Shop, right out there out of Bayou City, the guy that makes it all go down there in Houston, Texas. All things sports, all things Texas. The last time I took a look at it, Houston was in Texas. You got it right there from the Bayou City. Jimmy Hicks, 5th Ward, live right there, giving it to you like it is on the Lonestar Sports Show. We'll be back in about 45 seconds. We're going to jump in and figure out what's missing and what's not missing on this top 25 ranking. Somebody came up missing. Back in about 30 seconds with more Lonestar Sports Show. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. Hey, here we're all back here at the Lonestar Sports Show, wrapping up that segment with Jimmy Hicks right there with the Chop Shop, and right here on the Lonestar Sports Show. We just break that thing down. It's just the more you look at it, the less sense it makes. Maybe they come out, they see everything on social media, we're talking about it, protesting, lying about it, throwing lines out about it all over the place. Does it ever come to their attention? Does it really matter? At this end, how much value goes to it? I mean, when you make a blunder like this, like I said, when I first saw it, I assumed it was a typo, because I'm sitting there and analyzing and looking at this top situation here in the state of Texas, the 6A division. I'm sitting there having conversation that it's Martin Ranch. It's a fight between Martin Ranch and Atascocita, who comes out of Region 3, honey. And that's why I'm sitting there trying to break it down, because of what they have and experience and the seasons they had before, and where everything is. And you're trying to put it out, then all of a sudden Martin Ranch is ranked number 3. And I thought Atascocita had an edge on Martin Ranch. In my analysis, that doesn't make me the gospel, but I did have some rationale in what you're breaking down. I really like the way Jimmy looked at it in the head-to-head, obviously talking about his Sweet 16 extravaganza this past weekend. How can you have a team that advances and plays for the championship?
And they're not even top 20.
They're not on the list. Well, the list is top 25, so right. They're not on the list. I thought he gave some valuable information about Houston, about Sam Houston, because I know Ralph Barrera, the coach there, does an outstanding job. That's an old West Texas guy out there. That was a good player back in the day. Came along with Tony Benford and those guys out there playing some good basketball. You just analyze and look at everything that's in place. You just wonder what's actually going on. Now, it's not fair. Austin Westlake gets KJ Adams over to their deal. I mean, that has to move Austin Westlake from 23 to 15.
I thought they were too low even
without,
even before that.
Okay, well, justify that. We'll give you a chance to air it out a little bit. Well, obviously, you're talking about the Will Baker, top 3 player in the state.
You got Darius McBride, who committed to SMU. And I got a good look at him at the Gasso Fall League.
Yeah. So you thought they had some intermediate pieces that went along.
Yeah, they have pieces that, they're going to be real.
But Darius McBride being there, it's kind of slipped my mind a little bit. Obviously, I know who the player is. Committed to SMU, played for the Urban ASAC Austin group, I guess is what it's called. Craig, can't call Craig's last name. Craig Carlton, right, runs the program out of there. And so, I mean, when you stick those two pieces in there and you put Austin Westlake at 23, and now you're verifying that. I mean, without you verifying that, 23 seems a little low. So, you look at this situation, it starts to question not the credibility of TABC, which I think is a very credible organization as a coaching fraternity and the clinics and the different things they run the convention and what they do there, with the amount of energy and effort or the organized way in which they go about doing their preseason rankings and following on. See, and the funniest thing, I never have really even paid much attention to their preseason ranking. I usually catch them right about going into the playoffs, trying to evaluate is there somebody sneaking around with a player that I don't know about. Right. Because TexasBoysBasketball.com is driven by finding players, and so I don't consider myself necessarily a committed authority, if you will, on who the best team is. But teams are made up of prospect. I do consider myself an authority or expert on where the best players are. Yeah. And proving that with the resume states it for itself. Because I'm always digging for another one in the bushes. And that's why a lot of times I go to TABC. Wait a minute, why is this team, 27 or why is this team 19 and 3 at this stage of the season still in the playoffs? So you start trying to figure out why is that true. But obviously the amount of energy put in, and the only way that you can really do it is that you got to have a committee that's throwing it out there to keep any kind of integrity. And Coach Shirley, who I know casually, professionally well, have a lot of respect for. I mean, you can't expect him to get it done by himself. So I would leave this topic saying that The problem probably is that there's not an organized, staff-oriented way to go about figuring out what's what,
Right.
and how things really are. So that's the situation that you have on a deal like that. But we're here at the Lone Star Sports Show, just kind of taking a look at preseason. We'll take some more looks at prospects as we move toward the signing period, and as we move into what is actually going on at out at the Elite 14. Probably might be bringing in the guys out of Wichita Heresy that run the Elite 14. A really nice event. A lot of Texas teams that'll be involved in that process or in that event. Third weekend in November we'll be there. Third Saturday, I should say. It's only a 1-day event. Actually, it's a 2-day event this year.
Yeah, 2 day, Friday and Saturday.
Friday. It's the first time they're going to be doing the piece there again. But you got it basketball Thursday right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network.
Coach, would you? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, ain't no problem. Man.
Would you say, just like when we rank kids, there's a reason that a kid top 5, top 10.
Okay.
Would you say in something like with the TABC rankings, kind of in the tiers? So if we say they're top 5, do you ever kind of look at it in
kind of a rangy like?
Mm-hmm.
I look at it something similar to that. The way I look at it, are they first? This is the way I look at the teams. That's a very interesting question, and I'll give you some feedback on it. I look at the teams from the perspective, are they a playoff team?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Are they a first round winner? Or their second round, first round out, second round out, third round out, or are they playing for a regional championship? Now, it's a lot like all sports. Anytime you can make it to playing for the championship, anything can happen because you actually are pretty good at that point. So it depends on one night, 32 minutes, one set of referees, a group of kids. You don't want to, unless you just got that special situation where it's really deep and they're on a mission, you can't always predict what's going to happen when it comes down to that. What I've usually done in these situations now that we have 6A, 5A, and 4A, my focus has pretty much always been on the whole college basketball process is to look at teams, and once again, I'm still looking for players. Right. We run TexasBoysBasketball.com. It revolves around players and evaluations and information and monitoring those players. So we're shaking in the process of shaking the trees for the players. I'm looking at teams that are first round out, second round out, third round out. Where are they going to be by the time we get to the regional championship game? And I'm trying to look at that little window of time right there. See that I miss anything outside of that, and then I look back in there. Now between 4A, 5A, and 6A, you're going to see probably per class 30 to 40%, 25 to 30% probably is more accurate of your players, of your ranked players. Obviously, because players go to TAP schools, they go to TCAL schools, and other things of this nature. There's going to be another group of players over there, and we'll have a talk about that one night before on a basketball Thursday about how that situation is all winding out and the number of players that these leagues are producing now is kind of disproportionate to their size. But we have to go to the foundation of what goes on with the UIL schools and TABC and look at the 4A, 5A, and 6A and go step by step and then try to gauge that out and extract our players out from those situations. But you're right here on Basketball Thursday doing what it does with the Lone Star Sports Show and the Lone Star Sports Network. This particular segment was brought to you by Fast Small Sports product called Playbank. Playbank is a product, another one of the products right there with Fast Small Sports. Fast Small Sports leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Go take a look at fastsmallsports.com. I think it's for any basketball professional just to understand the technology and things going on. It gives you an introductory thing and an opportunity to explore, sometimes for free or for very low amounts, just to be involved in what's going on. You're going to be enriched in what Fast Small Sports is doing for basketball, from all the way down to the younger youth group, all the way to the NBA, where they have both NBA WNBA teams and the majority of your Division One NCAA teams. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Basketball Thursday. Got lots to talk about, still rolling down through it. The remaining 48 plus minutes or so will probably not be enough to get through some of the things that we have to deal with, but we're going to take a hard look at it and go at it really, really solid. I don't know quite. I'm going to go ahead and dive off on this. I might get in trouble for my group because I'm deviating from it, but this college basketball, thought it was a really, really interesting tidbit. I haven't studied it really, really hard, but and the AP preseason 25 as I'm not sure if it's totally released yet, but I have a reasonable amount of respect for Andy Katz, and Andy Katz does not have a Texas team anywhere in the top 25 in the country. In preseason ranking, I can't remember a time in the last 10, 15 years that the state of Texas has been totally absent from. Now, I remember times that we were totally absent from the NCAA tournament when we felt like we were kind of bankrupt during that time, had a lot of turnover, a lot of jobs, a lot of different things happen. But the preseason to be totally out of that situation, I'm just scratching my head, man. I almost feel like 23 Division I schools, roughly the 6 Power 7 schools in the state of Texas. Are we outside of the top 25 when you start breaking that thing down? The whole deal. We don't have any confidence in Texas. No, Texas has some things. Texas A&M, University of Houston. You lost to one guard, but I think they come back and get a lot stronger than they were there at the University of Houston. Texas Tech lost some really good players, but I think they're in a position of surprise. And rumor has it that SMU is a lot better than where we are. And what's going on in Baylor, and where is that situation? So Texas is in the preseason situation is in a rough place. The Prince,
yeah,
nowhere to be found.
He has a top 36. He has 11 outside the top 25. Andy Cass does, and he has TCU 32. And that's the only.
Yep, and then that. But I'm talking about top. I mean, it
was
36. But
right.
obviously,
I know that top 25. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with my traditional top 25. I mean, we can go 36 now. Well, why don't we go to 40? Why don't we go to 45?
Right.
Somewhere traditionally we looked at it, and here we go. We fall in there, and Texas is just not there. But we're producing players. So why is it that we're producing players but we're not there? Are the players leaving, or what's going on? I'll tell you another school that was very interesting that was left out of there with the recruiting class that they had, and that was Oregon.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty tricky deal. We had one of the Oregon coaches on here on set not long ago, and I think they were definitely a top 5 recruiting class.
Yeah,
LSU had a top 5 recruiting class, and didn't make it in. And I might need to do my research. My top 25, my Andy Cat's top 25 list may be bad. And I love you, man. I think you work hard at it. So, I'm not trying to kill Andy Katz by any means. I mean, he's always been a stand up guy.
I definitely thought Oregon was going to be in there.
Yeah, no, I thought it was kind of interesting when you go down through there and you no matter how you look at it. And I'm not really arguing with the fact that Tennessee was one of the people that I knew that came back and should have a chance to be really, really strong and where they are. And you just go all the way up through it. But at the same time, I just looked at Jeff Goodman does have Oregon at 17, which some of the people, but keeping it back to the Lonestar Sports Show and the Lonestar Sports Network. At the end of the day, once again, Jeff Goodman doesn't have a Texas team in his top 25, and then you ease down here, 25 more to watch, and you got to go down just about those 11 or 13. So now it's getting to be a little consistent to get TCU out of there and go down about 10 or 15 more, and you get Texas shows up on there. So it's a little rough in Texas. Texas is underdog in the country this year. So anything that we do is going to be interesting to see how it shapes up. But remember, I said Texas is better than outside the top 25 in college basketball this year. I said it right here, October the 10th or 11th or whatever the date is, 11th, that we're not excused all the way out of the top 25 when it's all said. Once again, preseason. I'm not going to say this is a bigger travesty as Atascocita being left out of the top 25 in the 6A state rankings, but
it's like a tier or two.
Yeah, it's in the same conversation of what's going on, but but that puts us up against the wall. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. In all due respect, Jeff Goodman and Andy Katz, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right, but they have a reason for thinking what they think. But I struggle with it a little bit. And the only reason I bring up Oregon, how do you leave Oregon out with the recruiting class that they had? How do you leave LSU out with the recruiting class that they had?
Right.
But that's all good. And maybe I'm just looking at the wrong list. Maybe there's another list coming out. But I'm just going with some guys that I know traditionally have definitely put the work in on their top 25. But talking about college basketball, let's sit back, man. Everybody take a break here and let's we're gonna go these 5 minutes right here, and we're probably gonna have to come back and talk about it some more. And I thought one of the most interesting things was when I started to look at the college sports scandals over the last 40 or 50 years. This doesn't really rank like, you know, how you have category 3, category 2 hurricanes, and all of a sudden you just have this mother of all hurricanes as a category 5, I think, as high as it gets. And so we have this is not a category 6 in comparison to the other hurricanes that we had over all the years. I think that the commitment to take a 2-year period and evaluate and extract. This is the deepest of all of the investigations, of all the scandals that I've seen. Let's go back and say, okay, where did this thing come out? You know, the funny thing when you look at in the comparisons or analogy of hurricanes start as these little thunderstorm deals over on the coast of Africa somewhere, and they get the right circulation and the right low pressure, high pressure deal, and creates a circulation. They start across the Atlantic, and they gain into a sense of a tropical storm. They start to develop, and they move in and they happen. Well, one of the things that to me that seems to be extremely unique about this situation in this case that we're dealing with is that when the initial leak dropped on it, and the reason that we're here has nothing to do with basketball. There was a financial planner, and I don't want to call his name right offhand right here. Probably could come to me if I keep on scrolling and bring it back. That jumps in a situation that's in a Ponzi scheme FBI investigation. Is about to be up against the wall and have to do a lot of federal prison time. And when he got up against the wall with a last minute ditch effort, he says, I can give you something way bigger than this Ponzi scheme. I can turn college basketball over for you. And at that point, you have a lot of guys with a lot of ambition. And that's what I see this scandal being all about, because there's nothing new going on here in college basketball. I think we got technology, we got a high-tech, high-level media time, and you got a lot of people with agendas and opportunity. I think the NCAA has an agenda here. I think that media, I think the FBI, I think everybody has an agenda here. But the thing about it is, it's really starting to look like almost kind of like, so what? You know, what's new about this? Anybody in college sports, including football or whatever, that says that there's anything being talked about or communicated about in this case that seems a surprise, they either have no idea or they're just choosing to play dumb. Yeah, that's my deal before we go to break. We come back, we're going to talk about that some more and just talk about how the ranks are laid out in this process and where the FBI are attacking the ranks at various stages of the process. And why is this going on in a capitalistic society called the government? And where's the criminal line and where's the FBI line? Back in 180 seconds with more of the Lonestar Sports Show. This particular segment was brought to you by Harlem Hotels, HarlemHotels.com, located right there in Houston, Texas. Take a look and listen. 2-hour commercial and look at HarlemHotels.com and see how and where you can put your money where you sleep in this process and come out on the better end of the deal. Back in 180 seconds with more Lonestar Sports Show. Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network right here in the great state of Texas, doing what it does on Basketball Thursday. Obviously, all the airways and all the internet and all the social media is bombarded with the basketball scandal, the council on basketball. My staff is scrambling around trying to figure out which is the most popular hashtag that goes along with this process. Everybody has a way with it. But corruption scandal, FBI investigation, college basketball, you can't type in college basketball into your search engine without this popping up as being one of the hottest topics, and all of your cyber optimization is going to direct you toward this being the biggest majority of what's going on and being talked about. It's a weird deal when you look at it. It seems to be a little bit of a perfect storm, a little bit of people trying to take advantage of the opportunities that are there. When I see the NCAA, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but bear with me. The most confusing thing about this is when all this came down on the line, the NCAA took a sense of accountability, and they went out and created the Council on College Basketball, where they basically assemble a group of people together and wanted to try to figure out what had taken place and what do we need to do to keep it from happening again. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Two things don't make a whole lot of sense. First of all, your committee is not comprised of anybody coming out of this space, the youth space and recruitable basketball space. You don't have not one grassroots person. You have a group of people that Condoleezza Rice, one of the most intelligent women in the legal aspect, political aspect right now, who from all indications I hear that she aspires to be in a general manager type position, an AD type position. She wants to go into the administrative side of college sports or professional sports, or wants to be involved in sports, we'll say. And based on her track record and her intelligence, she will find her way in a successful deal. But I guess she really got baptized in a pretty interesting place, being placed in this situation to analyze this for the NCAA. The NCAA Mark Emmett created this council to come back with some type of feedback and recommendations of what had transpired. But you have people that are trying to tell you where the tigers sleep and where the elephants eat and where the leopards run, and they never been to the jungle before. So how are you going to tell me about the jungle and you never even seen a jungle? You never been to a jungle. You never been involved in the jungle. I think that their intelligence allows them to cipher through a lot of things. But even the smart people that go over and go into the jungle take guides through the process to give them some indication so they can draw a logical conclusion based on their experience and their intelligence. Had a problem with that. That was the first thing I thought that was awfully peculiar. The other thing is that now when you dive off in and you get into your 2-year investigation by the FBI, where they basically why fraud is going. I mean, wiretaps are run, and with me being as close to the business, I know guys that have gotten notices and said that your phone is being tapped because you have had a conversation with this person or that person. That's understandable. That's respecting the rights and sounds well within the lines of what's going on. But now you're talking about the case seems to be you got two sets of things going on here. You got the NCAA sitting here trying to make note of all of the NCAA violations, which may not be a criminal violation, and then you got the FBI over here sitting here looking for fraud and or the fact that fraud or that the universities have been defrauded, when in actuality all of the accused persons were doing things in the interest of enhancing their ability to do their job, whether it was outside the rules or not. All of them were trying to do the best for their university. So that, it really comes down to how did this deal really come out of a criminal situation according to NCAA rules? You're going to find violations, stacked as high as Mount Everest. So those are the interesting deals when you go down through what all is going to take place. And what I see is for a long period of time, right now we're about 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks into the trial since they've started, and we haven't even knocked a dent into the list of what we're looking at. We still got a whole long list of people to get to. So right now, according to my deal, I think we could be in February and still be churning along and going on. Now, the real deal comes out is that when you get all of these cases being presented by these indicted people, everybody comes up and everybody starts spilling worms. So more names are coming out. Well, I'm gonna let you in on secret. 351 Division I schools in the deal, and when you turn back around and look at your roughly 100, about 150 of your Power 6 or Power 7, which are your top money earning top end of those 351 schools, you're going to be able to hear accusations after accusations after accusations that are going to continuously unfold out of these situations when they go into when they start communicating and get on trial. Well, I did have a conversation, or somebody told me this guy was interested. So you're going to get more and more and more hearsay. So what are you going to have actually piled up here at the end of the day that's going to tell us anything any different than what we already knew? And do you really come down with any real true fraudulent activity based on the people that have been indicted actually trying to defraud the state institutions that they work for, the institutions that they work for? They were all trying to enhance the what was going on in a NCA illegal way. It wouldn't be illegal for in the common practice of capitalistic society to pay someone for their value, for the opportunity for them to represent your brand, being Adidas. The amateurism is the thing that's being questioned here. And so, the longer you listen to it, in some weird way, it becomes a little bit more boring. The thing that extracts the boredom out of it is, and when you start talking about people that you know well, your Emmanuel Book Richardson's, Tommy Bland, Lamont Evans, Jim Gatto, Merrill Cole, Chris Dawkins. Chris Dawkins is not somebody I really know, but these group of guys, the people that you've known side by side, walking through the gyms around, when you start talking about the fact that these guys could be indicted and have to do prison time somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 plus years, that's when it gets crazy. And you look right here, Lamont Evans at Oklahoma State was charged with soliciting and accepting bribes. And that seems to be the really big challenge. Where is the bribe in the situation, or are you just doing business as? The defense attorneys seem to be saying this was a common practice, and it was not a bribe. It was an intention to purchase the loyalty of that person. It gets a little grayish right there, but it's a bribe when one person does it and the rest of the market doesn't have opportunity to offer that same solicitation. So what your defense attorneys are saying is, well, yeah, my client offered him, and that's an NCA violation. My client offered him $100,000 or X amount of dollars, but so did University A, University B, University C, University D. Now you turn it from being a bribe to a bidding war. It's just common practice in capitalistic society. So that's what you see going on there. And now when you flip back around, now you're dropping this thing into, and the grease just keeps on getting hotter and hotter, or it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You start talking about, well, yeah, we received $2,500 to play for this team for this weekend. That's been going on forever, and we look at this like it's something crazy, but what were the accusations on O.J. Mayo? Why did my man have to get the Heisman Trophy back from USC? Bush. And you went back through all the scandals. There are 25 scandals listed in the top 25 scandals of sports, and this didn't even make the top 25. So what are we really talking about? So one of the things that you get out of these kind of situations is the biggest storm is always the storm that you're in. That would be the first thing that I would throw out. And also, I feel like we're in one of the most media progressive, social media, everything is driven by content, and being in that era in time is going to enhance anything that's going on to make it appear larger, because we live in the world. I don't know if you guys are too young to remember the House of Mirrors. Well, that's what today's media is. you're not getting any new information. You're just walking into an area and reflections are being thrown across, and it appears to be, 10 images, but it's the same image that's being thrown at you with a little different angle. And that's what they do in the house of mirrors and in the funny house or whatever. They tilt the mirrors at different angles, so it makes the different images look like they're different, but you're not doing anything. That's what you're seeing in this particular situation is that you're seeing the same thing thrown at you through social media, through the internet, on all your content that's being provided, and every time they get a chance. And here we are at the Lone Star Sports Show, just throwing you another image and angle on it. But before I go to the break and we get ready to break back into what went on out at Drive Nation this weekend and talking about the JUCO Prep Showcase, my whole deal is when you look at this whole situation, it's not anything new. It's been going on. Okay, it's kind of like the guy that gets caught speeding. Everybody speeds through this deal, but the real deal that really blows me away is not one time is it really being looked at how common of practice. I'm talking about from a media standpoint. You can't, the FBI is going to prosecute what they have in front of them. That's their job. But when you look at the situation, nobody's talking about what goes on in football. Nobody's talking about what goes on in any of the other sports. And everything is being focused here, and it's just being shined and ricocheted. Now, this is the problem right here. But I shouldn't say the problem. This is the deal. I feel like everybody is using this as an opportunity to get things and change things and move things around to fit their agenda of what they're trying to accomplish. That's the one thing that I do see in the middle of all this. And when we wake up and come out of this, what does sports, what does college basketball recruiting look like on the other side of this whole deal? You got it right here on the Lone Star Sports Show, Lone Star Sports Network. Alan Branch giving it to you like he sees it, of almost 20-some years of being around college basketball. Here you get a chance to take a solid look at. That's our angle. That's our thoughts. But meanwhile, we're going to keep on looking for the next opportunity for the next kid through the vehicle of sports in pursuit of educational excellence. Right here at the Lone Star Sports Show, Lady Life, Under Your Money, and yours truly, Alan Branch. Back in 180 seconds with more on the Lone Star Sports Show. Today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. Hey, here we are rolling back here at the Lonestar Sports Show on Basketball Thursday, giving it to you like it is. We're having a nice, quiet, cool evening right here in the fall, autumn. Obviously, plenty of football going on, but basketball is up and going and rolling, doing what it does in the Lone Star State. Unfortunately, we are off to an interesting, controversial start in this basketball season. It all comes out of the shadows of everything that's going on with the Commission on College Basketball and the overall what's called the college basketball scandal, I think is what it Googles as majority of the time of what you're looking at there. And we pointed out some things that have been left as college basketball corruption scandal and FBI investigation. That's pretty much one of the ways that it's being looked at and found. NCAA corruption scandal, NCAA basketball corruption. But corruption and scandal seem to be at the end of every phrase of what's going on. So it's not good. But we're here, the thing about it is, does it cast a shadow? You kind of get tired of being asked all of the questions about what's going on and what does this mean and, the whole deal of everything. And, is this bad press? I got a question for you before we get into this Lone Star JUCO Prep Showcase. Is this bad press or is this good press? Is it all negative?
I don't think it's all negative.
I mean, because it's keeping it in the deal. It is. Does this make people? It's kind of like going back to the protest. Does this drive people away from college basketball, or does it make more people come and take a look?
I think it makes people more intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, of what's really going on. It's definitely keeping them in they high up on the charts of what's being looked at. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't think less people are going to watch college basketball because of this.
Right, because it's not a surprise to anybody in college basketball. That's the crazy part about it. They want to make it seem like it, and there's no surprise here. There's no surprise. Let me put it right here. In a multi-billion-dollar industry between college basketball and college football, do you think that it's a big secret? Lady Life is not she likes sports, but that's not her main pastime. She has other things to do in life besides watch football and basketball games. Lady Life, is it any kind of a surprise or some just blows you out the water that players have been paid or compensated for their talent based on that? That doesn't even and you don't know the difference in the Heisman Trophy and the Naismith Award or whatever, So I mean, that's a person that's not even. It doesn't even surprise you, And you right there out of East Texas. I mean, it doesn't. It's been an ongoing kind of a thought that just goes on. That's the funny thing about it, is that that happens, and that's done. They have ways of getting that done, and they got a better house now, or they have a better car now, or there's an agent or somebody providing. I mean, this kid, and it's almost like it's been done as an accepted practice and principle as long as it's done the right way, because the way it's been looked at or the way it's been rationalized over the years is, why is this kid out here making these networks and these institutions billions of dollars, and his mother and his siblings don't even know where their next meal is coming from at home? You say whatever you want to say. That human nature is going to kick in,
right?
And that's the whole deal on it, is that you have the economic nature of what's going on, and you throw things off into too big of a balance. There's going to always, economies always seek equilibrium, and that's because the human beings are going to try to seek a point where everybody's satisfied, and in that pursuit of satisfaction and feeling fair market value and feeling like they're fairly being a part of the situation. I'll use this show for example. If it appears that I'm making $2,000 a show and y'all are making gas money $10 a show, there's going to be something to be talked about at some point in time. It's just the way that things come out. Am I getting my fair market value of what I'm contributing to the process? So you're not going to sit over here and starve to death in a situation. And that's an exaggeration, obviously, but you're not going to sit over here and take pennies on the hundreds of dollars in comparison to what's going on, and there would be no hundreds of dollars made if this particular talent wasn't performing at a certain level. You're not going to get away from that. You can do whatever you want to do. You can look at it. You can call the FBI in. You can call the NCAA in. You can say it's corrupt. You can say this or that. It's going to always keep on circling back around to more and more falling out. The deal is, how do we come out of this situation? North Carolina, Roy Williams said he is dumbfounded by the corruption in college basketball. And one of the top 25 scandals that have gone on in college basketball happened on his watch, and he's dumbfounded. Come on, Roy. I mean, I have met Roy and talked to him a little bit, but I guess that's the appropriate thing to say. I don't know. But dumbfounded? Come on. Dumbfounded? Dumbfounded? I mean, really? And that's what y'all millennials say. Yeah, I think I've heard y'all say that. Really? I understand what y'all mean by that now. Really?
Yeah.
Come on. Really? Man, go somewhere. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network, giving it to you like it is. I'm kind of getting a little uncut. We're going to move on to a little more pleasant subject. This past weekend, TexasBoysBasketball.com, 5-state hoop report, Texas grassroots basketball ran the 9th or 10th annual Lone Star JUCO Prep Showcase. And we like to applaud Honey Money the Prince, as y'all know him here on the show, doing a great job of organizing, putting things together, and then acting as pretty much the event coordinator. So we give a lot of the applause and the credit to all the things that went right. And all the things that went wrong, y'all can blame that on Alan Branch. He probably didn't do a good enough job of guiding the process and as a consultant.
I can take the blame as well.
You take some blame?
I got to take I'll take some blame as well, Coach.
As it is. But no, we actually didn't have anything that went wrong of any magnitude, anything more than people complaining about referees here and there, complaining about a call. But I've never seen basketball.
Yeah, I've seen a tournament where they don't.
No, I haven't seen a tournament they don't. All the way to the NCAA tournament.
Right.
There's going to be some calls. You got refs, coaches, and the players play, and the fans watch. But I think we had 29 schools. So what kind of schools were there? We had Division I junior colleges. Mm-hmm. You had Division III junior colleges. You had what I call post-grad. One of the most abused terms is prep school. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? That's one of the sketchiest gray areas that's loosely used in describing scholastic level, high school level sports, or those prep schools. You know, and does that mean it's a fifth year post grad situation,
right?
Or you a prep school because you don't belong to the UIL?
Yeah,
and
I just think if you don't know what they are, just prep school,
right? Yeah,
and I think that's where they
just open up a can of worms, and they're just all over the place. It's just sad sometimes how uninformed the general fan and the general public are about the overall landscape of scholastic high school level basketball. Is blows you away at the end of the day of where they actually are. We had some TCAL schools, which are high schools. They're not prep schools. We'll go on the record of saying that TCAL 6A schools are regular high schools that are no different than Faith Family and Kimball High School, Denton Guy. Right. They're doing the same exact thing. They're educating kids, and they participate in extracurricular activities. They have a 48H, and they get qualified. They get scholarship. They go through the NCAA eligibility process and hopefully get a chance to play beyond college. That's no different than what you have in other situations. And then we did have what's called the post-grad. Mm-hmm. We have some high schools and some other situations that have a high school program and a post-grad situation.
Right.
Which this has been going on for the last 20 plus years, all up and down the coast of the Northeast. All your New England schools, they basically had high school teams and post-grad teams. And the post-grad is the fifth year student. So there were post-grad schools, high schools, Division III junior colleges, and Division I junior colleges made the 29 schools up. I thought that the top prospect for the weekend. Or the prospect that I was the most impressed with, bar none, across the whole deal, would have to be the 6'9", 6'10", Nick Onajadea. Is that
Nick Ongenda?
Oh, Nick Ongenda, who's from Canada. The 4-man with Southwest Christian High School.
Oh yeah.
You argue with me on that, or what do you think? You got 2 minutes left.
It's hard. It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with Nick. I'll say the next one, Tyler Junior College with the kid Rohan Cobb, and then Tennessee Prep has a guard, Damian Baugh.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're not at the level or tier that Nick Agenda will.
Well, what you have is, okay, let's call all those guys neck and neck. And then when you look at Nick, you see the opportunity to even take another jump.
Right.
Because he's 6'10", 220 pounds now. Or they probably more like 215.
Right.
Or maybe 210. What is he with another 25 pounds? As he continuously develops. To me, that was the most intriguing part, is what made him a top prospect. Yeah, the Cobb was one of my favorites with Tyler Junior College. I thought he stood out. I thought he came in as potentially one of the most underrated players. When we come back in 180 seconds, we're going to continuously talk about the various players that were involved this past weekend. It caught our eye, the nature of what was going on this past weekend, and how that has been going on for years in October. And the peculiar thing is that the traditional high schools on the outside looking in, they think it's, wait a minute, how do they do that? What's going on? We'll explain why that is legal in the NCAA eligibility evaluation recruiting calendar process when we get back. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Be back in 180 seconds with more of the Lone Star Sports Show. That particular segment number 7, was brought to you by Hartem Hotels, HartemHotels.com. Go take a look and see how you can put your money where you sleep. Hey, we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network, breaking it down, spitting it out, sitting here talking about the Lone Star JUCO and / prep showcase. A lot of people wonder why is it these kids are allowed to play in front of college coaches? I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30-ish, some Division I coaches that were over observing what was going on over a 2-day window. The reason the recruiting calendar for Division I coaches is divided up into two pieces. Let's educate you, because I mean a lot of times we don't do any better because we don't know any better. So listen up real good. It's divided into two situations. You have your non-scholastic period, which you're hearing about all the changes, what normally goes on in April and July. There could be some additions and some changes on that. And then you have what's called your traditional scholastic season. Well, what does that mean, Alan Branch? That means during the club season, when they're playing unattached away from their academic institution, they have the ability, these are the windows of time that Division I coaches are allowed to evaluate and come in as an evaluation period. Then you turn around, you have the evaluation period that's tied to the scholastic. That means the college coach can watch them as a team, or he can go into the institution and watch their practice. But as long as the team is made up of kids that all get their education in the same place, then it becomes a permissible situation there. Throw a little gray area out there to you. Because there was a federal situation with homeschooling and Texas turned around, now a kid is allowed to be homeschooled and then play with the institution of his choice because his parents are taxpayers. So you can include that situation. So that makes the rule a little goofy, to be honest. And I like to put a little controversy out there at the same time. But a kid is allowed to be educated in one place, and because there's no extracurricular / basketball opportunity there, they're allowed to choose and be committed to that one other situation that does provide that extracurricular activity. So these are times that when college coaches can go out. And then the other thing is it has to be on their regular season schedule. That's one of the things that verifies that this is a part of the scholastic year. For years, I'll tell you one of the funniest things, when I first got involved with, the Elite 14? Mm-hmm. This must have been about, this was like 2008. I can't think of the guard that went to Oklahoma. At the same time, was around. He was a North Crowley guard, really, really good. Willie Warren. Everybody was paranoid. Can we go and watch the Elite 14 or not? So there's like 3 coaches there, and everybody else thinks they're going to get in trouble and they're in violation and they shouldn't be there. When in actuality, it was on the regular season schedule, so it was a part of the evaluation deal. I remember one year when everybody started accepting, there were all these rumors going around. They were panicking and compliance officers bouncing off the walls and different things going on. So a lot of times we assume certain things, and we want to get back and talk about the players that played well, but we assume certain things, and we don't know how things are laid out, how the rules and how things function. So we need to do a better job of not just taking things for granted or doing a lot of hearsay, but take a few minutes sometime to read and understand or ask somebody, There's not very many compliance officers who will volunteer information at the drop of a hat, because that's what they do, is monitor the process. So back to the situation, Alan Branch thinks Nick from Canada, Nick Ogenda, is that pronounced?
Yeah.
Very decent.
Yeah.
I thought he brings the most. I mean, I thought the guard that came over with Collin County, Sherman.
Taz Sherman.
Taz Sherman, that's how it's pronounced. Yeah. Taz Sherman. Interesting to get a chance to watch. Did you get a chance to see very much in Jordan Wallace? I almost didn't recognize him because he got a fancy hairdo. He looked a whole lot different.
Yeah, he looked a whole lot different, especially when we saw him last time in the basketball season.
He was just a regular old kid down in Houston, down in Fort Bend County, just walking around playing for Terrence Plowden down there. And I think the summer group that my man coaches. Mo Taylor, right. Coaches, that was where I saw him at. And he was just a regular old kid. Well, don't take long for him to get to college and what did he do? Grow it out and twist it up?
He can grow it out.
Twist it up. He ain't had no weave or nothing in his head. Some of these dudes, I be looking, man, what Joker hair that show got fast? Talk about them girls with that weave. That Joker hair show got long fast. I'm sure his dreadlocks may not all be heels.
He's adjusting to the college life.
He's adjusting to the college life. That's a good way of putting it. That's a little scary, but that's a good way of putting it.
he was solid. You see flashes
Mm-hmm.
of what he can become, his ceiling, but the speed of the game, just how he has to get used to it. You tell he's just a little nervous, but I thought he was solid. I mean, I got to see the stuff that we liked about him during when he was in high school.
I'll be perfectly honest. It took me about 30 minutes to recognize him. By the time I recognized him, it was time for me to watch somebody else.
I had to go to the score.
I thought y'all had made a mistake. I said, man,
I had to go to the book.
I don't look like it.
I had to find out the number.
Because the numbers didn't match up. It was a couple goofy things going on. Traditional basketball, organized chaos. Rayhan Cobb, I thought probably was the most underrated player, even after the Monday morning look back over things. I still didn't think that people really saw the value that was actually there. Arthur Kaluma, Arthur Kaluma at Universal Academy was a 2021 kid. I feel like Arthur is right there right now in a situation where he's going to be a good player or he's going to be a great player. Yeah, he's right there. He's going to be a good player. He's a good player now. Right. The thing is he's going to turn over and do the deal. But Motor, he's still going to be, a part of a really good college prospect and have a chance to be successful. Take corner Redrow.
Yeah, Redrow.
Redrow. Is that what y'all call him? Redrow? Yeah, Redrow makes sense. Was not bad.
No,
Motor was good. Yeah. Effort was bad. A lot of progress that I've seen him early on in the deal. Got a chance to watch a little point guard, not from Texas. It falls in our 5-state hoop report. Tyler Pender, a 2021 kid. Good feel for the game. Has some mechanics that he's comfortable with, that he could easily become attached to, that could hinder the process. But another kid, kind of a lot like the Arthur Kuma kid, he's gonna be a good player.
Right.
The question is how good right now.
I thought he did I thought the game against Kilgore was a good.
Good test. I mean, you got a young kid out there in a real competitive situation. But when you look down on it, do you think where do you think I missed on a player? Who else do you want to throw in and say, "Oh, Coach, you were busy doing a bunch of other stuff. You didn't see this one."
Had to say one. We talked about. We haven't talked about Jonathan Aku.
I did. And Jonathan Aku is checked off there, and definitely proved as one of the top 3 prospects there.
Yeah,
top 3, definitely top 5.
I thought Tennessee Prep had another big kid. He's not all the way there yet, but Kevin Siakam, cousin of Pascal Siakam, who plays for the Toronto Raptors.
Was he legit 6'10"?
Probably 6'8". 6'8".
Okay, I'm thinking about a different kid. There was another kid that was a legit 6'10". You kind of look, and it kind of ran okay, and you couldn't really put your finger all the way on it.
And the same Tennessee Prep had a freshman, 2022. Them and Southwest Christian had 2 big 2022s that real intriguing. Still got
I didn't get a real good look at Southwest Christian's 2022 kid, but
I thought they both of them really held their own, contributed on the glass.
And you were saying that Tennessee Prep had a 2022 kid.
22 kid. That's one big kid.
Yeah, okay. I guess I didn't get, according to the paperwork, it didn't pop up in me that was the class that he was in. But it was good outing. Good outing again. We're gonna continuously work at it. I think right now we got some young man with a lot of energy and learn the ropes on this process. Probably one of the first ones that he pretty much ran by himself and ran on his own and pretty much just took something that already existed and make sure that it happened the right way. So proud of him for doing a good job.
Appreciate that, Coach. I think it's always refreshing watching these junior colleges play. Just always going back to levels and just preparing for these high school players going against some of these post grad and even going against some of these junior colleges. It was just a good evaluation.
It was refreshing.
Yeah,
it said really a whole refreshing. Lot. I think it brings about. I think it replaces something that doesn't happen in the business like it used to happen, and that was the fact of the younger guys playing with the older guys when they come home. I was talking to a guy I'm going to be involved in some stuff with Hall of Famer Coach Robert Hughes over in Fort Worth, and I was talking to one of his players, and he was talking about the days in the '60s and '70s, and he brought up the Purvis. Can't think of Purvis's name now. He's president of NBA Players Association, and those things. He was just talking about how they did things in the old days and how they look forward to it. And I can express the same thing. You see guys like David Britton, those guys coming around. We look forward to them coming home from A&M. And, at that time I was in 9th or 10th grade, and we all being on the same court, the same gym. You have a chance to learn. I think that just being in that same environment brings a sense of consciousness and accountability. A lot of opportunity provided in the Lone Star JUCO Prep Showcase, but I think exposure of the speed of the game and the reality. And somebody tweeted out a statement that, a lot of parents and young kids should come out and watch things like that to bring themselves to a bigger sense of reality. But in actuality, it's pretty much college coaches and a few parents that come out to watch their kid play. I think the people from out of town, the smaller towns, were the biggest part of the admission gate because they enjoy, traveling, coming into the Metroplex, OU, Texas weekend. Get a real good taste of Dallas-Fort Worth during that weekend. So we thank God for all the beautiful weather we're getting, and want to pursue into this weekend. We're going to be over covering some stuff in at a camp. Dino Stradino's going to be running a camp, so we'll have more information on prospects. We'll be out there covering it. That's pretty much what we're doing for the remainder of the last quarter of the year 2018. It's getting away from us faster than we think it is right now. We're not really paying attention. We're just falling into the last quarter, and the next thing you know, we be popping the cork and saying, Happy New Year. So you better lock it in, get yours in. This is got hump day on Wednesday. This is hump quarter. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. We want to thank Jimmy Hicks from down the RCS Sports and the Chop Shop coming in and visiting with us a little bit about what's going on in high school basketball. We're getting all geared up. We'll come back in with more of Controversial Cox on Tuesday about which way it's going for the Dallas Cowboys. Y'all have a good weekend. Be safe. Enjoy the cool weather. And realize no matter how challenged it may be, we are truly blessed. Lone Star Sports Show.